Okay, I think we're live now. Hello, hello. Welcome to Turn15 channel for the Spanish Grand Prix. We're past the solstice. We're well into the F1 season. We're well into the European season now. Spain, Catalonia. For the second last time, we will have to suffer this track. Actually, it should be a fun race today. Last year, decent race, decent amount of passing, at least in the lower midfield and the sort of midfield. Front of the race, it was all over. Yes, I know, it's very exciting. Got a little friend here as well, as always. I hope you're all doing well. Like I said, we're in Spain. Lando Norris is on pole today. Can you believe that? Lando Norris is on pole. That McLaren rather is looking very quick. The Mercedes is also looking quick as well. Hamilton third, Russell fourth today. We'll go through the grid in a second. First of all, hello, hello, again. Hope you're doing well. It's been a heck of a day for me over here. Good, good day. I hope you're having a good Sunday as well. Anyway, to business. Um, Norris on pole today. Verstappen second. Always there. He's always going to be there. It is Max Verstappen. Almost said Jos Verstappen. What century is it? Max Verstappen in second place. Hamilton third. Russell fourth. You look like you want a seat. Maybe in a bit. Leclerc fifth, Sainz sixth. Now the top six are very, very close today. It does promise to be a very entertaining sort of a race. Hello, you finally look, buddy. If you're going to show up, at least come on camera for a bit. Hello. It's very close between the top six. Very, very close. In fact, it could have been the top seven, but Oscar Piastri fucked his flying lap up, went off near the end of the lap, and kind of ruined his time. So he will start ninth today. Gasly seventh, Ocon eighth. So fantastic showing for Alpine. Lot of news about them this week. Not all of it great either. In fact, none of it's really all that great. The only good thing is they're seventh and eighth today, so a decent chance for them to score points depending on what happens behind them. It's a great place for them to start, and this is a track that basically shows the best of a Formula One car in terms of how well overall it works. There's some decent medium and high speed corners, a couple of low speed corners. It's sort of like an all rounder sort of track, and you get generally an idea of who has a decent all round Formula One car here. And so far, McLaren look very quick. Red Bull, not as quick as maybe we were expecting. Mercedes look like they're getting their act together. Ferrari look like they're getting their act together. And like I said before, Alpine, almost a surprise package actually, being in the top 10, considering how overweight and just how sluggish that car has been so far this season. Piastri ninth, 10th place, hometown hero, well, home country hero rather, Fernando Alonso. And the Aston Martin almost looked like he wouldn't make it through even. The Aston, again, is not great. It's not fantastic this season. Yeah, that's really all there is to that car. They're putting on bits, and the bits are working, but the bits aren't making it go that quick. Anyway, Perez 11th. Oh, Checo. Buddy. 11th. Fuck. It's very interesting seeing Checo struggle again. We'll get to that anyway later. Bottas in 12th, which is very decent out of the Sauber. And then Hulkenberg in 13th. Lance Stroll 14th. Again, Aston Martin struggling. Zhou Guan Yu in 15th. New chassis for him this week after the last one's taken a few hits. So we'll see how that does for him. First Q2 appearance of the year for him. So good on you, Guan Yu. K-Mag 16th. And Tsunoda Ricardo really struggling at near the back of the grid. 17th and 18th for the Visa Cash App RB team is pretty fucking horrific. Again, they've brought a lot of updates, put them on the car for this race, and it looks like, just like last year, none of them are really working. So, yeah, that team's in a bit of strife here. I wouldn't expect them to score points from back there. Not at all, not at all. And, of course, as always, Sargent, 19th, last on the grid, because Alex Albon is starting from the pit lane in 20th. That's your grid. Fernando Alonso on board with him on the broadcast here. We're about a couple of minutes away from lights out for the formation lap. Having fun there, mate? I know. Now, the big news out of this week, especially out of this weekend, Flavio Briatore is back. Flavio Briatore, who was once banned from the sport for life, is back with Alpine, and that is... It's been a hell of a week for Alpine. There were rumours circulating probably a couple of weeks ago by, I think it was Joe Sawad, who started spreading, well, not spreading these rumours, started reporting on these things. saying that Alpine was looking at basically canning the engine program. So Renault would can its own engine program, and the Alpine team would become a customer team. Now, that sounded so ridiculous that I didn't really pay any attention to it to begin with. You know, why is a works team ditching its own engine to become a manufacturer, or not even a manufacturer anymore? I mean, they would be a manufacturer of cars, but to put a Mercedes in the Mercedes, maybe, who apparently they've been talking to, and who they did that. Enstone team did run Mercedes engines when they were Lotus in 2015, so it wouldn't be the first time, but again, Renault was not part of that team at that time, so this, as the grid starts to clear its way of mechanics, that is insane to me. And basically, Renault ceases to be a manufacturer at that point. I mean, they won't be manufacturing Formula One engines if that is the case from 2026 at least. And at which point you just sort of wonder what the point of that team is. I'm still trying to figure out what the point of the Alpine team is. They don't sell a lot of cars. They don't sell a lot of Alpines. It's a very, very expensive marketing program. Science is a little bit slow getting away there, but it looks all right. Lights out for the formation lap here, so here we go. About a minute and a half, give or take, until showtime. Fun stuff. Anyway, the Alpine situation has kind of exploded now. Because Briatore has been brought in. Briatore, who was one of the masterminds, one of the instigators behind Crashgate in 2008. I'm sure we've all heard the story, but if you haven't, well, basically they conspired to fix a race with one of their drivers who was pretty much blackballed out of Formula One afterwards. That's the long and short of it. Yeah, banned by the FIA for life. Had that rescinded to, I think it was a 5 or 6 year ban or something, on appeal, and now he's back. But he's back not to run the team, but he's back as an advisor. What I've been hearing, what I've been reading, is that he's there to oversee a sale of the team. Now, to whom, I'm not sure. They've been in contact with Andretti before about supplying an engine. I don't think that that's in the works anymore, but they could end up selling the team. Now, it is feasible that Andretti has connections. They still want to use a GM engine, a Cadillac engine from 2028, but it is feasible that maybe they could do a deal with Honda in the meantime. This is if they were to get the team, but this is actually thinking quite a few steps ahead. Either way, they have a deal with Honda in IndyCar. They do have connections, so there is an interim engine if they need it. But again, that is very much speculation and future problems to worry about for that team. Either way, it's very I'm not sure about bringing Briatore back in for any other reason other than just to facilitate a sale for the team. So interesting times ahead, very interesting times ahead. And they asked Bruno Famine about it and he didn't outright deny it, which means it's probably what's going to happen, to be honest. Other driver news is quiet, basically. Not a lot has happened. Nobody signed anything since Canada. Carlos Landis just moved on the grid there. Carlos Sainz is the cork in the bottle, basically, for driver movement, and that whole market's starting to get things rolling. So once we figure out where he is going, whether it be Audi or Williams, either of them look likely. I'd say Williams may be more likely at this point. A lot of good words about their 2026 engines. That is the Mercedes engines that they'll be getting. So we'll see. Just for the record, everybody's starting on soft tyres except for Albon, who's starting on the mediums from the pit lane. So it all looks like very 3, 4, 5 lights. And they're out. Decent start by Norris. Decent start by Verstappen. Norris was moving across to cover him. Don't knock your wing off again, Lando. Oh, George Russell's getting very feisty back in third. He's going to take the lead. That's amazing. Looks like there was a bit of contact between the Ferrari and the McLaren as well. So Lando's dropped back to third. One of the Aston Martins, it looks like Alonso has missed turn 1. Or turn 2, rather. That's incredible by George Russell. My goodness. He almost came from nowhere. just really a decent bit of slipstream down the front and just absolutely sent it into turn one. And I can't believe it. George Russell once again is leading turn one for the second race in a row. Oh, Checo up against the Haas. Can't get through. Into turn 7, 8. George Russell coming out of turn 9 in the lead from Max Verstappen, then Norris, then Hamilton back and forth. Bit of a do about Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes team this week as well. Oh, Lance Stroll's going for it against Zhou Guan Yu. Into the hairpin. Zhou is going very wide. Oh, side by side. Oh, that's a decent move by Lance, actually. Very forceful move there. Good move. So that means Alonso's actually dropped a couple of positions if he's only just in front of Stroll, and he has. So lap 1, Russell, Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, Piastri, Ocon, Hulk. So Hulk's had a decent start. Ricardo passed Logan Sargent there. Fuck, that team is absolutely struggling. Tsunoda's had a pretty decent start to the race, so up in 15th now. So a little bit of shuffling. Everybody kept their noses clean through turn 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So it's not like last year where Norris basically wiped out his front wing in turn 2 and destroyed his race. He's still in it. He's still third. In fact, Russell, Verstappen, Norris. This is the same riding order that we had in Canada, wasn't it? A couple of weeks ago, and that was a fantastic race. So Hulkenberg up 3 places from the start. Very good. Russell again up 3 places. That was outstanding. That was really, really good. Very impressive from George. Especially starting from 4th, so he's on the dirty side of the grid there as well. Oh, Max slipstreaming. Oh, through turn 1 around the outside. Verstappen's got him. Verstappen, start of lap 3, is taking the lead. So that Sainz has just gotten past Charles Leclerc as well. You know, this generation of cars actually tends to be able to overtake at this track, which was honestly so rare with the old rules. The more aerodynamic, like over-the-top aerodynamic cars never used to race well here. This current gen of cars actually doesn't do too bad on it. So Sainz is going to be absolutely feeling it today in front of the home crowd. This is the last time in front of the home crowd as a Ferrari driver, so he's going to want to make the most of it. I don't see him winning this, but a podium would be nice. He's got a bit of work to do to get there, though. Tell you what, Gasly's holding well. 7th place. Piastri's still behind. I wouldn't imagine Oscar will be hanging around there for long. I mean, Piastri's not down there because he's struggling with the car. He's down there because he fucked up his quali lap. So Norris, Verstappen forcing another driver off track, noted. No wonder. I didn't see anything that untoward in turn 1. Yeah, who knows? Something to watch for on the replay. He closed on me, Carlos, says Charles Leclerc. I don't think he cares, buddy. Yeah, I don't think the Sainz can be bothered following a lot of Ferrari team strategies anymore. Actually, I saw a stat before the start of the race. Last time a McLaren started here on pole, it won the race, and it was Kimi Raikkonen in 2005, and that was the day Ollie Bearman was born. Oh, it's been a while. I'm starting to feel old now. So not a lot of shuffling since the first couple of laps. Sainz, he touched me, we collided, and he pushed me up. He touched my rear right. I was clearly ahead, says Carlos Sainz. You know, it would have been lovely to see that move as it happened, because it looked like there was quite a do going on there. No further investigation between Norris and Verstappen, fair enough. Like I said, I didn't see anything. I didn't notice anything untoward there, so whatever. Charles Leclerc is absolutely all over the back of Carlos, so good grief. So here we go, replay of the start. So Lewis had a bad start as well, and he sort of covered the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz off. George has just picked up an absolute ton of slipstream. Done a bit of a Fernando Alonso start, just swallowed the front row and got by him. Remember Alonso did that a couple of times at this track, back when he was racing in red. So Verstappen and Norris, neither of them really had a killer start, and then Norris just absolutely comes over on him. Oh, okay. And a bit onto the grass. Yeah, it's probably what the... And there's George just coming from out of nowhere. Fantastic start for George Russell. On board with him here. Oh, he nailed that start. It's like Hakkinen at Suzuka in 99. That is just phenomenal. Yeah. Norris and Verstappen are slowing each other down, and Russell just around the outside. Past both of them. See you later. Now what happened with Alonso here? Because he had to take off. Now he had a decent start. He just couldn't get by the McLaren, and he couldn't really get by the Alpine. Looks like he's got somebody on his inside here. Oh, a big slide. Okay. I don't know if that was a tap, but it looked like he got a lot of wheel spin in turn one. Now, just a replay of Verstappen just steamrolling. Basically, George Russell into turn one. You just the closing speed. Oh, here we go. Ferrari. So Sainz around the outside, and they're just getting a little close for comfort through turn two. Okay, so Leclerc's trying to cover him off. Sainz tries to pinch him on the apex. They touch a little bit. Sainz has to miss the apex of turn two because of the touch, and Leclerc ends up behind. So Leclerc's had a aggravating weekend as well. He was seeing red. No pun intended, but he was seeing red and ran across Norris's front wing in practice 3. I don't know why he's so upset though. Like, it's Spain. Who gives a shit? Yeah, the fucking commentators going on about dark clouds. Guys, it's not going to rain. I'd be astonished if it rains today. I haven't heard shit about rain on the broadcast at all. Unless we've got some Camacho shit going on. Anyway. So that's Stroll, who's gotten past Valtteri Bottas as well. So Lance is feeling it today. Albon past Sargent as well. I wouldn't imagine Sargent... Oh, actually, that's another thing that's happened in the week. The FIA has... They're even calling it the Kimi Antonelli rule. They have revised the minimum age of a Grand Prix driver. They don't have to be 18 to earn a super license anymore. Now they could be 17. So I guess kind of the same as it ever was. I'm not sure any team would ever be game on putting a 16-year-old competitively into a Formula 1 car. I mean, even Max was 17 when he debuted, so... That said, if there is a case for anybody being 16 years old and getting them in an F1 car ASAP, then we might just have the second coming of Michael Schumacher himself. What is this? Russell radio. Just confirm pushing level more than the others. Alright. So Russell is trying to get something out of that Mercedes. Verstappen, 2 seconds now, lap 8 of 66, 2 seconds about in the lead. Yep, there it is. The magic number, 2 seconds, so he's well out of DRS range, and I'd say Max is going to control the pace from here, so... it looks like this is probably going to be the end of the fight for the lead of the race, at least. I'd be astonished if Max loses it from here, not unless we got some sort of fuckery going on. You never know, though. I mean, 2022, Charles Leclerc was leading this race comfortably, and then the engine died. Um, that really was, I think, symbolic. I think that was the first time I started to think that season that he was really going to be in trouble. Even more than the engine dying in Baku. When it died while he's leading Catalonia, I just thought, oh dear, here we go. That's a lot of points to give up, and it doesn't look like that engine's any good. Oh well, what are you going to do? Anyway, speak of the devil, riding on board with Charles Leclerc. Yes, hello. Again, I'm not having fun down here. I've got this little guy who wants a scratch. So, Norris, Hamilton, Sainz, Leclerc all running pretty close together, which is kind of what qualifying and practice was indicating, that these cars are all quite stable, all quite close together in performance. Verstappen running away with it, as you'd expect. I mean, not absolutely crushing the opposition here right now, Max is, but 2.2 seconds is a decent lead and a very controllable lead. Kevin Magnussen's having a decent look at Fernando Alonso here. Something's wrong with that Aston Martin. Maybe it was a hit into turn one. Because he did get just a lot. It didn't look like there was a lot of... Maybe I just didn't get a decent view of it, but it didn't look like there was a big moment of impact for Alonso. It just looked more like a slide from the back that he had to catch, and then the front end suddenly bit and it threw him off the track. I don't know. Maybe I should be watching the replays for Alonso a bit more closely. I was a little bit watching what was going on at the front with George Russell. Again, that was an amazing start by the lad. Oh, here we go. Oscar Piastri on the Alpine of Pierre Gasly. Now, Gasly, I'm not sure. I think he's going to stay at Alpine for next season, but I'm not entirely sure. That whole team right now looks like a real mess, a real hot mess. Joe and Tsunoda in the pits, by the way. Yeah, that Alpine team is turning into a right old fucking mess, so I would assume Gasly sticks around. Again, Carlos Sainz is pivotal in the driver market. Depending on where he goes, everybody else will then very quickly start to fall into position after that. I've heard Ocon to Haas, which makes sense because we know that Alpine's not keeping him, but I've heard Gasly might end up at Williams if Sainz doesn't go, or maybe Bottas will end up there, or maybe Gasly goes to Audi and he becomes what they wanted out of Ocon, because apparently Audi and Ocon isn't going to be a thing anymore. It's all very all over the place. One thing I have heard, though, I'm not sure how reliable this is, but I have heard that Ricciardo was probably going to extend at RB. Ooh, who's that running in front of Magnussen? Alonso's just gone off a little bit. And K-Mag diving into the pits. Looks like the tyres are all starting to fall apart now, which isn't that surprising. These cars are very heavy with fuel, and the soft tyres by Pirelli are, for the most part, a bit garbage. God, those Williams are really falling off the pace at the back at the end, are they? Not great. So we'll see how the undercut works. Joe Tsunoda, now they were both riding a little bit behind K-Mag on the track. That's not a good stop for Haas either. That wasn't good. The car didn't come down really in time at all. It's not telling us how long that stop was, but it didn't look quick at all. And looks like K-Mag's come out in last place, so... Yeah. I think the undercut is working, but it was really exacerbated, Kevin Magnussen's, by that shitty stop. Either way, Alpine is a hot mess right now, and I mean, in a way, it's actually going to be very interesting to see what comes of that team, because I mean, it's not great for F1 to lose an engine manufacturer, and anybody who remembers the GFC, the global financial crisis of 08-09, will remember just how quickly a lot of teams can suddenly disappear from F1. Andretti was not granted. Just a replay of Bottas getting very loose, and then Alonso getting even more loose and going even wider at the penultimate corner there. Anyway, end of '08, start of '09, Honda, Toyota at the end of '09, but really they wanted to go at the start. BMW as well after '09. A whole bunch of guys just suddenly pulled out of F1. Jag in 2004 as well. Ford said kill it, and then they killed it. That's it. Probably for the best as well, because out of the shithole fires of Jag, we got Red Bull, and they're a team that actually wants to do something. Hello. But the one thing with manufacturers is they come in, they spend a lot of money, they make engines, they are great for the sport in terms of global reach, in terms of technology. When they're in the sport, they tend to be very stable teams. However, Magnussen, full start noted, okay then, they can just disappear overnight. They can just go. And then after that, who knows? That's when you start getting in all manner of your HRTs, your Virgin Racings, your Caterhams and Lotuses and all of those Pretenders and Jokers and all of that shit. God forbid your US F1s. I mean, it is kind of the lifeblood. It's what this sport was built on. It was built on those shit little teams, but they really don't do a whole lot for the sport. Apart from being a decent launch platform for new drivers, that is. Anybody who remembers Minardi, remembers Fernando Alonso, Mark Webber, etc., all getting their starts. Giancarlo Fisichella, Jarno Trulli, Gaston Massacane, I don't know. A whole bunch of guys get started at these lower teams, which is what you need, because right now there is a lack of decent... there's a lack of decent doorways into the sport for young talent. Drogovic is doing nothing, just sitting on his ass. I mean, he did Le Mans a couple of weeks ago, but he's not really doing anything to get into the sport because there's no room. Theo Porcher, who just got released by McLaren and IndyCar in a, in my view, absolutely ridiculous fucking move, but I don't know. Mick Schumacher isn't around anymore. I mean, there's not a lot of room to come into the sport, or to really stay in the sport, because you've got a whole lot of guys who are just tending to hang around forever now. So who knows? Maybe Alpine sells the team, maybe somebody else buys them, and then you get new blood coming into the team. This looks like Bottas past Joe into turn 1. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. Verstappen, Russell, Norris, Hamilton, Sainz, Leclerc, Gasly, Piastri, Stroll, and Alonso. It's your top 10 right now. The pit stop shuffle has absolutely started in earnest. It's not the most action-packed Grand Prix track, this one. I'll be honest, I'm not going to miss it. I've seen every race that they've held here this century, and it's never that fantastic. Any chance Alpine are making another empty threaded? Does this one look likely? This one honestly looks likely. This does. I think it looks as likely as that pit stop looked shitty. 6.7 for Gasly, so goodbye points. There it goes. Goodbye dinosaurs. It's all over. It's going to come out behind Ocon, who was running outside the points when he pitted. What? And K-Mag penalty. So 5-second penalty for K-Mag for a false start. Good grief. Silly shit, that is. Really silly shit, but K-Mag better watch himself as well. I don't think that there's going to be any penalty points on that, but he's on very thin ice through the rest of the year. Let's not forget. In fact, I get the feeling Ferrari are kind of hoping that he fucks up and that they can put Behrman in the car. Oh, here we go. George Russell pits. Now, Verstappen still has about 4 seconds on George Russell. for the pit stop. So I don't think George is going to be able to undercut him unless we see the lap of the gods as an outlap. That's a bad stop. That's a bad stop. Look at that. That's bad. It's going to drop him behind the Ferrari. They're going to come out side by side in the pit lane, but I think they'll be okay with that. That doesn't look like an unsafe release. It just looks like a crowded release. And Leclerc will take up position behind George Russell, but they're going to be very, very close into turn one. No. Sainz stays behind George Russell after that pit stop. Either way, Alpine, empty threat. This one does look likely, actually. The fact that they brought Briatore in to facilitate a sale. They asked Bruno Famin if there's any truth to the engine program getting canned, and if there's any truth to the team looking to be sold off, and he was very... If it's not happening, you would just flat out say, no, absolutely not happening. I don't know where these rumors are coming from. It's total bullshit. But Bruno Famin did not say that. I can't remember verbatim what he said, but he essentially said, yeah, you know, some things happen, and, you know, we don't like to comment on rumors. And saying we don't like to comment on rumors of that magnitude, instead of just saying, fuck no, that's not happening, to me says it is absolutely happening. Now, who is going to get the team will be very interesting. It could be, there's been a few different guys trying to get their feet in the door. F1 teams are very, very in demand lately as Hamilton pits 2.3 seconds. That'll put him out in front of George Russell very easily. Or will it? George is on the main straight. Oh, no. So, staying out later did not help Lewis at all. And even having a lot faster of a pit stop didn't really help him either. Still behind Sainz. Behind Alonso too. Hamilton coming up behind Alonso was very bad news for him as well. He really needed to clear that Aston Martin. That's just going to hold him up from here. And Alonso, I can imagine, is not going to be in any hurry to let Lewis Hamilton by, although he's just gotten by there, so there it is. So that's actually incredible that Hamilton's not been able to overtake George there with such a shitty pit stop. I thought for certain that it was that was it. Max in the pits. Here we go. That's a good stop. That's a very good stop out of Red Bull. You know, sometimes 1.9 seconds. Oh, that is a very quick stop. Sometimes things just work so well for you. They really just work so well for you. When the car feels good and you're in the rhythm, things just tend to just go right for you. That's what I've seen over the years in F1. You saw Lewis a lot of the times. He was so blessed during his hybrid era Mercedes dominance run. I was honestly considering going to church. I thought maybe he was onto something. That's really, really close between Hamilton and Sainz there. Really close. Through turn 3. God, I thought Lewis actually maybe touched him. God, there couldn't have been a whole lot of room left between that front wing and the right, the rear tyre of Carlos Sainz. God, that was close. Either way, Hamilton hasn't been able to get by, so not a great time for Lewis this weekend. He did actually outqualify George Russell, which is something he said he wouldn't be able to do for the rest of the season. But he's fallen behind him after lap 1 and just never doesn't look like he's even close to him yet. Now we'll see how Lewis comes along near the end of the race, because he tends to, sometimes he gets bothered by things, you know, but other times he tends to just have solid, especially in the last couple of years, like he will be a solid racer, just maybe not at the front, so you're not really paying attention to it. Here he comes. Down the inside of Sainz, it's very close. That was contact. There was definitely contact there. Hamilton has forced his way past Carlos Sainz. There was absolutely contact though through turn 1 and 2. I'm not sure which bit of car flew off, but there was something that just came off one of those cars. So Carlos covers the inside. Hamilton just shoves it in anyway because he knows that Carlos is going to have to open up the corner to make the apex. Oh, it's a bit of an IndyCar pass, that is. Just sort of like a shove your way by. I mean, Carlos does kind of squeeze him here, but he. I don't know. I mean, I guess Hamilton is kind of. He's not really side by side, but he is pretty far up. Now, what happened? Here's a replay of George Russell's pit stop. Not much to see here. The right reading, go on. So yeah, here we go. Lewis Hamilton fastest lap. Like I was saying, he tends to have races where he just kind of comes alive. He will be bubbling away quietly, and before you notice it, he's actually up near the podium places. Kind of no matter where he's been, no matter where he starts. So Alonso pit stop 2.9 seconds, so not spectacular, but not catastrophic either. Meanwhile, Lance Stroll out on track, getting by the Haas of K-Mag. Good work. Good stuff. So, Turn 1 incident under investigation between Hamilton and Sainz. Not sure if I want them to do anything about this. Again, it didn't look like dirty racing, it just looked like hard racing. It looked like more of an IndyCar pass than anything. Bit of argy-bargy. It's noted and reported to race control. They're looking into it. Carlos Sainz radio. So, yeah, Carlos, as you'd imagine, isn't very impressed with that pass. As Max gets past Oscar Piastri. There's, I mean, it was close. Qualifying was close. Practice was close, and there was word. I'd say there was word. You know, Lando Norris was saying there's probably 6 or 7, maybe even 8 guys who could win today. Realistically, 2. More realistically, there was 1 guy winning today, and that's Max Verstappen. That car just works. It doesn't work as well as they want it to, but it still works. Oscar Piastri in the pits. It still works. It works well. Despite Max complaining about it, despite Red Bull conducting a test at Imola in the 2022 car the other day. I think it was last week, actually. They had Max Verstappen out at Imola running laps in the 2022 car. Just as because they raced there very recently, they wanted a proper comparison between that car and this year's car to see basically what they're getting wrong with the car, why it doesn't feel good. It's still quick, but why doesn't it feel as good as the old one? What is this car not doing as well as the other one? It is a change of concept again this year. It's a lot closer to what Mercedes were attempting for the past couple of seasons, which they didn't get right. It could just be that concept isn't that great to begin with. Oh, Norris radio. So they're keeping Norris and Leclerc out. They are going to drop a whole lot of positions here, but they will have a lot better tyres for the end of the race. Now, don't forget, Lewis v Max here. And goodness, what year was that? 2019, I think? I'm pretty sure it was 2019. Where Lewis pitted late, and the tyre delta was so great that he managed to reel Max in and pass him with just a couple of laps to go. It is possible to pass here. It is. It doesn't happen a lot. It's difficult. DRS makes it a bit easier, for sure. But it is definitely possible to get a pass here. Like, there's Oscar Piastri. Past the Haas. Just a quick replay of it into the turn 10 hairpin. Now, there's Fernando Alonso on Kevin Magnussen into turn 1. Is it just me, or is every car that gets past today a Haas? No further investigation between Sainz and Hamilton as well, so fair enough, fair enough. So McLaren finally going to box Norris here. Oh, yeah, it looks like Norris got that thing slowed down in time. Looks like Charles Leclerc's just going through as well. He is. So God knows what's going on with Leclerc's strategy, if they're going to try to mimic what McLaren's doing, but just maybe push it to a bit more of an extreme. Now there's Norris coming back onto the track behind, like his radio says, behind Leclerc, Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, and Sainz. So that is quite the it's quite a lot of passes he's going to have to make. Now he's not going to catch Verstappen. He should be able to get up to Russell, but I don't think he's going to be able to make the kind of ground on Verstappen. Then again, that is a very nice car, the McLaren, and Norris is a very quick driver, and he is feeling it this year. You know, I'd say never. I mean, probably never. It's probably going to be Verstappen winning this, but you'd never really say never with Norris. He's the capacity to surprise there. Remember Imola, he did kind of the same thing. It's a very different type of track, this one, but the principle remains. That car is good at the end of stints, and it's usually as a race goes on and Verstappen gets onto the harder compound of tyres that he starts to really not like the car anymore. Now Charles Leclerc dives into the pits. Verstappen's already passed him, so there's that done. Now, a decent stop, which that was okay. What is that, 3 seconds? Yeah. Not great, not catastrophic. A decent stop should get him out in front of the Alpines. But will it? Is he going to drop position here? He's behind Gasly. I mean, he should get past Gasly, no problem. It doesn't really help him getting back past Carlos Sainz, though. If you're a Leclerc fan, I feel bad for you. It's kind of all or nothing with Charles Leclerc. So radio's telling Sainz. Radio engineer to Sainz saying no further punishment. I know it sucks, but just go on. And then Sainz saying, I don't know why. There's a rule book if we don't follow it, which is a fair point, but I don't think that was... I don't want to see... And I love Carlos. I mean, look at this, but I don't want to see moves like that getting punished, because then you're sort of shutting the door on potentially a whole lot of fun in Grand Prix racing. Anyway. So Norris has already caught right back up to Carlos Sainz fastest lap. Mid 118s for Lando Norris. Looking at Sainz. Gonna break some Spanish hearts here. England trying to dab on Spain like it's their navies fighting again. You're being awfully rambunctious tonight. So what's this? Alex Albon. Looks like getting by Logan Sargent. Looks like he was let by Logan Sargent there. Now, like I said before, and who's this? Zhou Guanyu getting by Valtteri Bottas. That looks very coordinated. Now, like I said earlier. Now, what did I say earlier? No, it's already gone. Do you want to come back up here? Yep. Okay. So Leclerc complaining about his strategy on the radio. There's nothing new. As Norris is going to go flying right by him. Flying right by Carlos Sainz, rather, that is. Leclerc should be getting by Gasly at any second, and here we go. Yep, there he goes. I mean, let's face it, that Alpine was never going to stay in front of the Ferrari at all. Behind both the Alpines, though, in 9th, Checo Perez, and 10th, Oscar Piastri. So neither of them are really making the progress that I thought that they would in this race. I really thought that they'd be doing better than this. I mean, again, it's difficult to pass here. It's not impossible, but it is difficult. And we'll see where things shake out as the race progresses. We're nearly halfway through it, actually, already. No safety cars or anything, so we'll probably blow through this race pretty quickly. Which is merciful because Catalonia, I just never feel this race. I never do. Every now and then it'll surprise you and have an okay race, but mostly it kind of sucks. So thank you for sticking with us if you're watching this. But because the race kind of sucks, we'll just talk about other things. For example, Aston Martin are pursuing Adrian Newey. So from what I've heard this week, Adrian Newey has had a tour of the Aston Martin facility in Silverstone. They are trying to keep it quite tight-lipped, but Piastri getting past Sergio Perez there. Yep, there he goes. So Perez, with a second stint on softs, isn't really doing anything with them. They are falling off very, very quickly. You know, I'm starting to think we might not even see any points for Checo today. Tsunoda in the pits. Yeah, anyway, so Adrian Newey given a tour of the facility. From what I've heard, he was made an offer by Aston Martin to work for them. The salary demands are, well, justifiably, you could say, very high for Adrian Newey, and I don't think old man Lawrence Stroll wants to pay that much to make his kid a world champion. Not that I think it would, to be honest. If any of those Aston Martin cars is going to become world champion, it will be Fernando Alonso. But it doesn't look likely anyway. And I've also heard, I heard that he's already signed with Ferrari, but again, there's a lot of speculation going on with Adrian Newey right now. All we know for certain is that he's leaving Red Bull at the start of next year, and where he goes after that, they won't be allowed to announce it, I don't think, until he's already left Red Bull, but I've heard that he is already signed with Ferrari. Verstappen, tyres are very inconsistent, which is what I was saying before. He likes to come on the radio and complain about his tyres the longer that a race goes on, especially when he gets on the medium and the hards. He just doesn't really like those tyres, that car. Then again, they're Pirellis. A tyre only a mother could love. And even then. So Norris now catching up to Lewis Hamilton, 1.2 seconds. No, 1 second now, 0.9 behind Hamilton. So he's got the DRS. And it was wide open there down the straight. Now, Norris v Hamilton is going to be very interesting because the McLaren and the Mercedes should be pretty similar in terms of performance. I'd say the McLaren's going to be quicker, but Lewis in a Mercedes should be very, very fast as well. So we'll see how Norris goes getting by him here. Perez finally gets by Ocon as well. So K-Mag in the pits. don't think it really matters. I don't think K-Mag's really going to feature in this race, apart from getting passed by other cars in the midfield. Anyway, lap 30, nearly halfway through the race. Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Sainz, Leclerc, Gasly, Piastri, Perez, Ocon. That's the top 10 as it runs. The Alpine's still in the points. So, well done, guys. Well done. 13th and 14th for the Aston Martins. Dear God. I think they might actually get back on the blow at Adrian Newey and say, you know what? Maybe we will pay that salary. Norris v Lewis here. Lewis covers him into turn 1 on the inside. No way through on lap 31. But Norris is very, very close here. I don't really see turn 4 passes. Turn 5, that could be a bit of a dive bomb, but I don't think Norris really has the ground on him, and he doesn't. About half a second behind, so really the only decent passing opportunity now for the rest of the lap is into turn 10, and if he doesn't get it done there, it's into turn 1 on the next lap. Doesn't look like Norris is really going to be able to do it here. Yeah, still about half a second. So he is very close. He's about half a second closer than he was at this point last lap. Yeah, you can see Norris here positioning his car to get straighter exits out of the corners. He is, I'm thinking, going to go straight past Lewis Hamilton into turn 1 here. So we'll see what Lewis can do. But with DRS, look how close Norris is. He's going to get this done. Absolutely easily. He's going to get this done. So Lewis will move to the inside. No, Lewis is just going to let him go. I think he knows he's beaten. So, smart racing by Hamilton there. Norris blows by. There it is. I mean, no point fighting that move when you know it's going to happen. I think what Lewis is going to do here is try to follow Norris through on George Russell, which is going to be very interesting. They're a very interesting dynamic, Lewis and Russell. They don't really shy away from racing each other very, very hard. In fact, it was here at this track last year that they made contact on the front straight. What's that? Perez getting past Ocon. Bit of a replay there. It's very interesting dynamic that Lewis and Russell have. It got very interesting as well. Team LH and the like on Twitter have been going absolutely, well, on social media really, have been going crazy on Lewis Hamilton. They're reading all sorts of conspiracy theories now about Mercedes sabotaging Lewis Hamilton in the seat, which is just fucking stupid. It's really fucking stupid. Mercedes are still trying to... they won't be able to win it, but they're still trying to get at least second. In fact, you know, Perez has been terrible this year. They could win it. The Constructors' Championship, they've got that to fight for. They've got race wins to fight for. They're not going to sabotage Lewis Hamilton's car to give Russell a one-up. Russell, it doesn't look like he needs it, because Russell has absolutely had the measure of Hamilton for a lot of their teammates. Their teammateship, whatever you would call that. Partnership, there we go. Fuck it. Either way, Lewis has never been able to properly establish himself over George Russell the way that he did over Valtteri Bottas or over Heikki Kovalainen back in the day. Hasn't been able to beat him down like that. And I don't think sabotage is involved in that. I think Russell is a very, very good racer. I think he's very, very quick. Maybe he cocks up too much. That's something you can still iron out of a driver, you know. I mean, Russell's still quite new to the sport. This is only, what, his 5th season? No, it'd be his 6th season. Maybe he's not that new, but still, he's still young. This is something, I mean, the way driver careers are getting longer and longer, you can't afford to just keep plugging away until you're in your 30s, and then you really go for it. Yeah, anyway, the sabotage rumours, which then culminated in, well, George Russell's been getting pelters for it on a social media, which he shouldn't be reading fucking comments, honestly. DMs. I've been hearing apparently there's death threats and shit in there as well, which I just find kind of silly. Um, like I don't know. I couldn't take the shit seriously. If somebody's sending me like, "Hey, arsehole, I have 300 confirmed kills in Iraq. You're dead, kiddo," and shit like that. Like, it's very obviously just stupid. Um, Either way, Mercedes has had to move and say, we are not sabotaging Lewis Hamilton, which is pretty fucking obvious to anybody with a brain. Although I'm not that hot on Lewis kind of fanning these flames. You know, when he's insinuating that Mercedes aren't giving him everything and things like that. I remember Russell had the new front wing before Lewis Hamilton did a few races ago, but Hamilton also didn't want the front wing. Just little things like that, you know. Lando Norris here, side by side with George Russell, around the outside of turn 3. That's a great move there. Russell trying to come back at him. He won't be able to do it. Oh, side by side through turn 4. Surely not. George, surely not. Oh, he's keeping it in there. Into turn 5. That's fantastic. Oh, Russell's absolutely nailed that, but they've come out side by side. Norris on the inside for turn 6, 7, 8. Yep. Oh, but that's a pretty slow turn 7 and 8 for Lando Norris. Lewis Hamilton has closed right up on them. So Lando has ended up making it through as they go through turn 10. Damn, he killed it. But now he's got two Mercedes absolutely right on his ass. I don't think Russell's going to be able to keep up here. I think that McLaren's just too quick. Now, he's still got DRS, but Lewis Hamilton has DRS as well behind him. Now, George with the DRS should keep him ahead of Lewis this lap, but next lap, I don't know. Now, Russell, 0.6 behind Norris. 0.8. 0.9. I'd say Norris, if he can brake clear properly, and there's the second, there's the magic one. If he can keep ahead, that far ahead of George Russell into the DRS detection for the start of the next lap, then I think it's just Russell v Hamilton for third. Then I think Norris is going to be safe in second. Verstappen is almost 10 seconds out in front as well, so that's done. It's great side-by-side racing there. Just the replay there on board with Norris. And clever by Lando as well to keep it tight, try the crisscross out of 5 through turn 6 and then into 7 and 8, giving himself the inside line because there is no way a car is going to go side by side. Not a Formula 1 car, maybe in the junior series, but I can't recall ever seeing 7 and 8 being a side by side in an F1 car. George Russell pits, Hamilton up to third. Now, remember, Norris is in an offset strategy now, so I don't think they're going to pit him straight away. That's not a great stop again for George Russell. What was that? 3 seconds. Doesn't look like a fantastic stop for Sainz either. 2.5. Yeah, pretty bog standard. I mean, we've seen a 1.9 out of Verstappen today. Like, that's the target, I think. So here we are, lap 37. 29 laps to go. Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, Leclerc, Piastri, Gasly, Russell, Sainz, Ocon, Hulkenberg in 10th. Perez 11th. Painful. Then Zhou Guanyu, Stroll, Alonso, Ricky, Albon, Bottas, Tsunoda, K-Mag, and Sargent dead last. And we've still got all 20 cars in the race. Running lap 38 now. If you're Max Verstappen, everybody else will start running lap 38 in due course. Now it is George Russell around the outside of Gasly here. Just just can't quite get it done. Can't quite get it done. He should be able to get it done into turn 1 here, though. Oh, I'm so happy that they got rid of that old chicane at the end of this lap. It's just so much better to pass cars at the end of the straight. George is absolutely through and by him into turn 1, through and 3, and he's well ahead by now. Ocon's just hit the pits as well, so Perez back into the points for now. So that Stroll's in the pits too. God, that chicane just... I can't even imagine how many potential overtakes were killed off over the years because of that dickless piece of shit fucking chicane at the end of the lap. That absolute boner killer. Awful. Hated it. Hated it. Hated it ever since they put it in that's what she said. Ever since they put it in, what was it, 07, 08? I forget which. Stuck a chicane in that corner and just completely fucked it up. Totally fucked it up. Not just fucked that corner up, but also fucked turn 1 up, and after that, fucked all the races up because nobody could get the passes done. Then again, not much longer here. The Madrid track's coming in 2026. And that'll be the end for Catalunya. I know Stefano Domenicali said that, not Domenicali rather, said that just because they're racing in Madrid on that street circuit, it doesn't mean it's the end for this track. But let's face it, it does mean it's the end. I don't think F1 is going to be running here and in Madrid as well. Not when they have all these other tracks that are knocking on the door, trying to host a race themselves. A big chance that we get a whole lot of calendar rotation soon. From what I've heard, things like Zandvoort and Belgium will pair and will host on alternating years, a bit like the Hockenheim and Nürburgring used to do back in the day for the German Grand Prix. And not just those tracks as well, like a few of them, from what I've heard, going to be potentially alternating from track to track, which I'm thinking will probably be just European tracks will be doing that. There's other tracks as well, which we'll see year on year. Like which ones are going to stick around long term and which ones are going to get the flick. Lap 40. Don't worry, guys. It's nearly fucking over. You know, it's a shame because Montreal was such an exciting race. It really was. So, I mean, you're not going to have a Montreal every weekend, but sometimes you come to this track and it turns out okay, but it looks like this race is going to a little bit by the numbers, this one. Then again, just looking at Lando Norris, he's slowly catching Verstappen. Now, I get memories of Imola. I don't think as Ocon is getting past Daniel Ricciardo at a turn 1. I mean, there's a decent amount of passing to turn 1. It's just none of it is really getting your dick hard. But that said, Norris is starting to creep up on Verstappen. So, you know, there's still about a third of the race to go. We'll see if this one can maybe come to life in the end. Because we've had that before as well. A race will just kind of be doing nothing for the first half, the first 2/3, and then the ending is actually very entertaining when all the strategies start playing out. Pierre Gasly getting by the Sauber there into turn 1. So turn 1 basically is the hotbed for overtakes here. I mean, that was great action by Norris and Russell earlier, but that's commentators already talking about asking for chances of rain before the end of the race. I'd be surprised. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I would be very surprised. Then again, it's been a long time since we had a wet race at this track. I remember 96 was very wet and Schumacher won that, but I can't remember a wet race at this track ever since. And I don't know if I'm just misremembering that. We've had them in Hungary. They didn't have it for the longest time, and they've had a few since, but I cannot remember a race here being wet. Not since that Schumacher masterclass from '96. I mean, it's Spain in the summer, you know, sun. That's the order of the day. Anyway, Norris creeping up a little bit closer again on Max Verstappen. It's still 5.7 seconds, but that's not. I mean, it depends what Verstappen's going to do here. Now, Norris has 6-lap younger tyres than Max Verstappen. I'd say Verstappen's tyres are starting to fall off a cliff. Norris's will be doing the same soon enough. Bit of traffic for both of them as well here. 5.6 seconds, 5.5 seconds. So it is tiny, tiny. You could see Max actually at the end of that straight. So there's between turn 9 and 10. Russell says the tyre doesn't feel good. He's sliding already, so he's on the hards. Now, everybody started on the softs except for Albon, who's on the softs now. So everybody has run through all of their tyre switches. Now, I wonder, maybe, if they will keep Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton out long enough, if they can as well, keep Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton out long enough and just put on softs at the end instead of going to the hards. Or maybe even a new set of mediums, assuming that they've got more to use. Now, this is a rarity. It looks like a Haas is actually doing the passing into turn 1. How about that? So there's a first for everything. Excuse me. Now, for some reason, if you've got one of these things, they only ever want to start getting up to adventures after midnight. I don't know why that is. Are you really that nocturnal? Ugh. Buddy, you're not going up there. Come on. Oh. There you go. Have fun. Buddy, you're not jumping up there. Come on. Come on. There you go. Well, you watch the end of the race, huh? Ricciardo's in the pits. You like him, don't you? Speaking of Ricciardo in the pits, that was an okay looking stop. What is that, 2.5? Yeah. Not awful. Not spectacular. About bog standard, really, is your 2.5. Hamilton in the pits. Softs. Oh, so it is the softs that they're going for at the end now. That's interesting. 2.2. That's a very quick stop. So 22 laps to run on these soft tyres, which is quite a distance. However, the cars are a lot lighter now than they were at the start of the race, and they're only going to get lighter as the fuel burns off too. So, fun times ahead. Now, let's keep an eye on what Lewis Hamilton is doing with his softs. Now, he's going to have to push them hard enough to get past Sainz, but not hard enough to kill them. Because 22 laps is quite a ways to go. I could imagine Verstappen, definitely Norris, but Verstappen is going to want to stay out quite a bit longer before he puts on his softs. No, he's in. So they're confident they can make it then if he's going to the softs. But is he? What is he going for? It looks icy red. He's going for the softs. Here we go. 2.8 seconds. So not the absolute ace stop that they managed earlier. It's kind of on the outer limit of acceptable, a 2.8 second stop. Anything 3 and above, you're really fucked up. Which is amazing to think, actually. Just how quick these things have gotten. So, Norris radio. Verstappen has pitted. This is our chance now. So they are going to try the overcut. Oh, the overcut rather, the undercut. No, they are going to try the overcut rather. It's been a long day, believe me. Now, this is a little bit like last time out in Montreal. Verstappen has pitted. Norris is going to stay out a little bit longer, and let's see what he can do. Lewis Hamilton is absolutely all over the back of Carlos Sainz. Oh, he's having a look into turn 7, 8. Not going to be able to get it done there. But that's very quick. Oh, no room into turn 9 to make a move. Now, DRS is going to help him get by here. It will keep him close, though. Watch for Lewis on Sainz into turn 1. I think it's going to happen. He looks so much quicker than Carlos here. So Carlos on the hard tyres that have already done 8 laps. Lewis Hamilton, brand new softs, and this is the time that you'd really need to use them. But Hamilton needs to get this done. He cannot fuck around. If he fucks this around, then he won't have any tyres left to then go after Russell or to... or to keep Sainz behind afterwards. Now Hamilton does get ahead of Sainz into turn 1. Norris radio. Just saying if Hamilton gets by us in the pits, can we pass him? And Norris saying, yeah, I'll pass him. I love the swagger from Lando Norris lately. He's really growing into his final form here, I think. I think the win has gotten that monkey off his back as well. And he's really, really coming into his own now. I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Lando Norris lately. He's always been quick. He's always been very quick, but he's becoming a lot more complete now, I think. So Verstappen, fastest lap. Oh, he's catching right up. 16 seconds now, Norris to Verstappen. And that gap is coming down all the time. So McLaren are ready to receive. Who's that? Oscar Piastri, surely. Yes, it is. Oh, on the softs, that's not a great stop. 3 seconds. Not fantastic work out of the pit crews today. 1.9 for Verstappen, but everybody else has been 2... I mean, Lewis had a 2.2 before, but I'm seeing a lot of 2.5 and above today. Norris apparently is going to box here. So they are pitting to cover off Hamilton. I don't think... Yeah, I feel like they're just kind of giving up even going for the win here. Maybe they just think that they can't get it no matter what. Now, what's Leclerc going to do? Norris in the pits. Leclerc in the pits. It's not a good stop. Again, not a good stop by Lando. Now, here come the McLaren, the Mercedes. Oh, George Russell is going to go side by side into turn 1. Oh, Lando just stays ahead. Nico Hulkenberg penalty out of fucking nowhere. Okay, then. 5 seconds for Nico Hulkenberg. It doesn't really matter. He's still 11th. Speeding in the pit lane. Well, yeah, okay. It's kind of a slam dunk, that one. So Norris on the softs comes out, crucially ahead of Russell on the hards. Hamilton 1.2 seconds behind the both of them. Lewis on the softs. Yeah. This looks like the wheel guns aren't working today. For a whole bunch of these teams, the wheel guns aren't doing their thing. Nah, that's not great. So Leclerc, for those of you playing at home, has come out 7 seconds behind Carlos Sainz. So not a great... It's not so much not a great showing, just not a great day for Charles Leclerc today. Got bullied out into turn 1 early on, and then it's never quite come back from that afterwards. Gotta wonder if maybe he's carrying a little bit of damage because they did make contact into turn one. Leclerc and Carlos, that is. So Hamilton under a second now behind George Russell. But all the pit stop shuffling is done. Now, Hamilton is about 3.5-ish seconds behind Lando Norris here. Can he catch Lando? I don't think so, to be honest. Which means it is Hamilton versus Russell for a podium position. Now, two Mercedes fighting over the same bit of track at this circuit. It has led to some hilarious fucking scenes in the past between two teammates who just were not giving an inch to each other. And these guys rarely give an inch to each other anymore. I mean, they had a bust up here last year. I think it was last year. I'm pretty sure it was. Where they collided on the straight. They had a lot of run-ins at Suzuka. And there's been a few times that they could have worked together and they just flat haven't. Norris fastest lap? Surely not. I couldn't imagine Lando's going to get past Verstappen for the win here. I just can't see it. Hamilton, meanwhile, has dropped a second behind George Russell. Now, how long... Checo in the pits. How long are those soft tyres on Lewis Hamilton going to last? So Tsunoda's got a time penalty as well for speeding in the pit lane. Oh, Yuki. Actually, just on Yuki as well. Things like this won't help him get a Red Bull seat, but he's never going to get it, let's face it. Lando pushing harder, not saving tyres, Max, all corners. That's radio to Verstappen. Max is clear. I think the first two are so easily clear here. It's all coming down to the final podium position here, and all Russell has to do is hold on for a few more laps, and then Hamilton's tyres will be all gone, and then it looks like probably the top 8 are set. I think Ocon Perez is going to be fun for the rest of the race, but everybody else beyond that... Albon might be one to watch, but he's down in 18th, so it doesn't really fucking matter. Meanwhile, Stroll and Alonso are getting very close to going a lap down here, which is damning for Aston Martin, considering they were on... No, they missed a podium here last year, didn't they? That's right. Stroll actually finished ahead of Alonso here. So it's not been the happiest of hunting grounds for Fernando, wearing green. So here's Checo getting by Ocon. Yep. And now, what is that? About 10 seconds up the road to the next Alpine. 15 laps to go. Checo should get that. If you can't get that, then... Fuck, I might be looking for a shredder to put his contract through back in Milton Keynes. Feel bad. Well, not really feel bad. I don't really feel bad at all. It's a shame Checo's not really living up to, I think, what he could do, because I do think he's a better driver than what he's been showing. I think overall he's a very solid driver. He's a very quick driver. Hamilton's having a look at George Russell here around the outside of turn 1. Lewis Hamilton past George Russell into turn 1. Here we go. Now, how much longer are those soft tyres going to last? So, replay, Lewis Hamilton, yeah, easy as you like, around the outside of George Russell into turn 1. That's the power of the DRS and just the extra grip on the soft tyres. Now, all George has to do here is keep it close, wait for the softs to fall off, and then see if maybe he can throw anything in with the hards. Because there's a 7-lap differential between their tyres. which isn't a lot, but those softs won't last. Now, so they're telling Max to push to the end because Lando is not tyre saving. Honestly, I don't even think it makes a difference. Catching for now, Max Verstappen is one thing for Lando Norris. Passing him is another. So Russell 1.2 seconds behind Hamilton. Now Leclerc's only 2 seconds behind Sainz, and it's a bit like the Mercedes lads have just shown us. Sainz is on the hards in fifth, Leclerc on the softs in sixth. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on there. I think Alonso on Zhou Guan Yu into turn one. Decent amount of passing actually. Thank God they've taken out that last chicane then. I mean, this race is never usually all that interesting. It's mildly interesting so far. I mean, there's been a decent amount of passing, just not a lot of intrigue as to who's going to win the fucking thing, but it's also not the most spectacular track on the calendar either. It's just kind of bang average in every way. So Norris got to Verstappen 5.4 seconds now. Ooh, 12 laps to go. Again, I don't think we're gonna have another Miami on our hands. I don't think so. I mean, who knows? Could happen. It could be an amazing sort of turn of events, and it could happen. I just don't really see it. That said, Leclerc now is under a second behind Carlos Sainz. Now, they, again, have not always been playing that kindly on track with each other. And I don't think Sainz would give half of a flying fuck about team orders here now that he's facing the arse from Ferrari at the end of the season. So, if Ferrari says don't fight him, I get the feeling Sainz probably would. Um, Leclerc's tyres are so much. Oh, and as I say that, Sainz just lets him right by. I think Carlos sort of knows. Just about to say Leclerc's tyres are still very young. Sainz's tyres are getting on and they're hard. So, well, shows what I know. Yeah. I think the hards are a really big mistake here. And I get the feeling Perez is going to catch and pass Gasly here. I don't think the hards are. The hards just aren't a great tyre today. I think the track's rub it in now. The cars are a lot lighter. Oh, there's Arthur Leclerc in the pits. Arthur Leclerc, who will never drive in Formula One. Not unless something truly spectacular happens. I get the feeling to see Arthur Leclerc rather in a Formula One car, you would need something incredible and also incredibly tragic to happen. Otherwise, I just don't see it. I just don't see it at all. But again, like I said before, there's very little room at the inn for new drivers to come in, especially when you've got just eternal journeymen like Nico Hulkenberg. There's a lot of seats I think that probably could go up for grabs, but you're seeing guys Hamilton, Alonso, even Ricardo, guys who are just Bottas maybe even as well, guys who are just staying on and on and on and on and on. You've got a whole generation of new drivers who just basically they get to F2 and it doesn't really matter what they do there. There's no room at the end. Now, what I was going to say before about Yuki Tsunoda was it's interesting that Red Bull basically have never considered him for the seat. I think they think he's fast enough. They just don't like his temperament, his mentality. But it's kind of funny to see them also propping up then Sebastian Montoya and especially Isaac Hadjar in the junior formula. Like, Isaac Hadjar makes Yuki Tsunoda look like a fucking saint when it comes to seeing red, turning into a total hothead. Five seconds, Norris to Verstappen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're working lap 57 here. Halfway through lap 57 of 66. Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, Russell, Leclerc, Sainz, Piastri, Gasly, Perez, Ocon. Now, I think Checo could probably catch Gasly by the end of the race. I think the rest of them are probably going to stay as they were. Unless George Russell starts to find a lot of speed very, very quickly. I think Hamilton's got to stay ahead. And props to Hamilton. Those tyres, they're 13 laps old now, but they are lasting a bit better than I thought they would. I thought that having to push so hard to get past a Ferrari and then to get past a Mercedes that he might take a bit too much out of him, but no, he's done well there. Good work, Lewis. So here we go. A Haas getting past again into turn one. I don't believe it. Up to 16th. So 16th and 19th. Could I just say that Cash App RB car it looks like a stinking pile of horse shit. The thing is, both of the drivers, like Ricky and Yuki, have so far commented different races, different Grand Prix weekends and stuff. They've said that they're pushing everything they can out of the car. It doesn't even feel bad. It's just slow. It's not like it's not doing what they're telling it to do. Like, they are telling it, do this, and it will do it. It just does it bloody slowly. Which is why I think they're so incredulous when it comes to the end of Q1, especially Q1, but also Q2s, and they're told their time, and then they're told, yep, you're out. And they can't believe it. And I think they really genuinely can't believe it. Not because they think they're quicker than they are, although I get the feeling most of the Grand Prix grid thinks it's quicker than it really is, maybe except for Max and Lewis. It's not that great of a car. It just doesn't offer anything. And here we are at the track where it's that Verstappen, I think. No, it's Checo getting by the Williams there, putting a lap on him. Anyway, it's very telling, I think, that we are here at the track of showing overall what a car can do. And Williams are 18th and 20th, which is about where you'd expect them to be. I mean, I don't think anyone would be surprised that Logan Sargent's dead last and Alex Albon is 18th at this track, because that car doesn't really have any decent peaks. It doesn't have any massive weaknesses. It doesn't have any really highs either. It's just your absolute bog standard Grand Prix car. So Albon and Tsunoda just had a moment here. Ooh, Albon's gone off. I saw that on the timing screen and I was trying to figure out if it was maybe he just missed the timing line, because he was about 10 seconds. I was looking at the winners just before. Yeah, Albon was about 10 seconds above Tsunoda. And it looks like he did miss a timing line, but now Tsunoda's right on his ass, so not great for Alex Albon going off at turn 4. It seems to have gotten away with it. Again, it doesn't even fucking matter. It's for 18th. You know, who really gives a shit about that? But this track that basically gives you an overall test score of your Grand Prix car, and it's no real surprise that Verstappen's running away with it. It's no real surprise that the McLaren is thereabouts. Mercedes and the Ferraris are very close together, but not quite at the level of the other two. Albon, what the hell was that? So, alright, so Albon's just saying what the fuck's just happened at that corner. Now, I remember, I think it was last year, or was it 2022 as well? I forget which. I get the feeling it was last year. There was a couple of cars going off at turn 4. Carlos Sainz was one of them. It could just be a crosswind, to be honest. I mean, he's not the first guy who's just suddenly lost the back end of that car going into the corner. But anyway, not great for VCarb. Actually, Ricky's just gotten ahead of Bottas here. What is that? That would have been into turn 1, yeah. The fact that that car that people were saying is going to be good. I was thinking last year, even, it could be a podium contender. Just because they were going to work a lot more closely, aerodynamically. Technically, they were going to work a lot more closer, that team and the main Red Bull team. And I thought, if you're going to share tech, then that car is instantly going to be more competitive. And it doesn't look like they've shared shit, to be honest. Maybe they've shared a lunch or two, but that's about it. Because that V-carb is down there with the Saubers and a very undercooked Aston Martin. Not great. Not great at all. So Leclerc's coming up on George Russell here now. 3 seconds, about 4 laps to go. We'll see. Tell you what, those soft tires are really hanging on. Really hanging on. And Russell's hards have they've done a lot of miles now. So here's a replay. This will be Ricciardo getting past Bottas, one Australian getting by another. Easy as you like. Easy as you like. Bottas tries to go to the inside to cover it. Ricky just steams around the outside, a lot like Lewis did with George earlier. Yeah, simple as you like for Ricky there. So 15th place, he will finish ahead of Tsunoda. I think he's thoroughly beaten him today, at least. I mean, from memory, Tsunoda out-qualified Ricky, but that's about as good as it ever got for Yuki for this race. He had the that penalty for speeding in pit lane as well, which is fucking stupid. Just goofy shit, you know? That said, I mean, Verstappen aside, I don't think anybody from Red Bull, the Red Bull folders, really covered themselves in glory today. .9 seconds now. 3.8 seconds Norris to Verstappen. Fuck, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. That car's not quick enough, and I'd say the driver's not quick enough either. I think Verstappen... Who was it in the week? I forget who is saying that Verstappen is probably the best that he's ever seen. Oh, God, I wish I could remember who actually said that. I mean, a lot of people have said that, but this is somebody who is actually important. Not me, then. So, 3 laps to go, including the one that we're on. Any questions or comments, get them in now. I mean, this is about as bog standard of a race as we've really had under these new rules. It's a bit like last year's, to be honest. Only there are no DNFs. We've got all 20 cars that look like they're going to finish the race. All of them basically where you'd expect. You expect Verstappen to run away with it at the front, and he kind of has. You expect Norris to keep it close, and yeah, he kind of has. Mercedes lately look good. They look good in Montreal. They look good here. Looks like they're starting to really turn that car around now, although it's probably too late to actually really do anything meaningful with it. Third and fourth, good for them. Ferrari is surprising being that far down, though. Fifth and sixth. Get the feeling Leclerc, a couple of laps to go. I think Leclerc could get George Russell here. But Mercedes, Ferrari, it's... I'd say Leclerc's going to get by Russell just on the tyre advantage more than anything to do with the cars. I think the Ferrari hasn't looked all that quick. Piastri, seventh. Hasn't really done anything, Piastri, today. Just didn't really ever come into it. Surprising, actually. I thought he would have featured a lot more today, but he spent a big chunk of it behind the Alpines, and that just kind of ruined his whole race. Gasly in 8th, so great result for Alpine. Checo in 9th. Ugh. Again, Checo is only 1.2 seconds behind Gasly with 2 laps to go, so that could well change. 1.1 seconds now. I'd expect Perez to cross the line at the end in 8th and Gasly in 9th, but still 9th and 10th for Alpine is great. Who's 11th? Hulk. He's not getting past Ocon. A double points for Alpine, which is good for them. On a very contentious weekend for Alpine. It looks like they've done all right. This team tends to pull rabbits out of hats when it really needs it. I remember they did it the podium at Spa with Grosjean in 2015 when they were just broke as a joke and facing closure. They managed to pull these like morale boosting points, or even last year when they sacked Otmar and who's the other fellow they sacked? What was his name? Laurent Rossi. And then they pulled a podium out with Pierre Gasly there. For the sprint, I think that was. So they do pull decent results out of hats when they need it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to that team. Hopefully they don't close. I wouldn't expect them to close. I think there's so many buyers now trying to get into this F1 franchise model that this team will survive, but what happens to it exactly remains to be seen. A clear coffin. Anyway, we're working the final lap here, so that was your top 10 that I've just been through. Hulkenberg 11th, whatever. I think he's just waiting, counting down the days till he gets into a Sauber. Oh, a little bit of a lock-up for Charles Leclerc. There's Checo going by Gasly, so it will be 9th and 10th for Alpine. Max Verstappen coming around the final corner. And can you believe it? Max Verstappen wins in Spain. Norris 2.2 seconds behind in second place. Well done, Lando. Lewis Hamilton's going to come home in third. Charles Leclerc. I don't think there's going to be any room to get it done. Couldn't get it done by turn 10. I don't think it's going to happen. Hamilton third. Russell fourth. So good work, Russell. Just held on to it in the end. Leclerc in fifth. Sainz sixth. There he is, coming around the final corner. I think when Alonso... If you told Alonso that he would finish right behind the Ferraris at his home race, I don't think this is what he would be thinking. Piastri 7th. Checo will be 8th. Gasly 9th. Ocon 10th. Hulkenberg 11th. Everybody else has been lapped, and so they're all locked in position. That's Alonso in 12th. Joe in 13th, Stroll 14th, Ricciardo 15th, Bottas 16th, K-Mag 17th, Albon 18th, Tsunoda 19th, Sargent 2 laps down in 20th. So that's it. That's your Spanish Grand Prix. Verstappen sounds very relieved with that. Yeah, Verstappen sounds very relieved with that. So it did get pretty close at the end there between Verstappen and Lando Norris there, but I don't think it was ever really... I don't think it was ever really in danger. I mean, let's face it. I think if Max really needed to bring some more speed out to hold Lando Norris off, then I think he would have been able to keep it. Norris, I think, just lamenting that he lost out at the start. And you know what? He did have enough pace. This could be really a race lost for Lando Norris, who's driver of the day somehow, despite fucking up the start and finish second. You know, not Lewis Hamilton getting his first podium of the season. And a sprint doesn't count. Fuck off. It's not Verstappen for winning it. So, okay, anybody who ever ran with Mercedes sabotaging Lewis Hamilton, look on the screen now and then take a shit in your hand and eat it, because you fucking embarrass yourself. That's a great helmet on Verstappen. That will look absolutely keno in Austria, where we are next weekend as well. So that will be great. I think it's a sprint race as well. That won't be great, but Austria is always a fun track. Always fun. In fact, the sprint race might even be fun because it's a good track, just like Interlagos. It's nice. It's short. It encourages good racing. Straights, hairpin, straight, hairpin, couple of quick corners. That's it. That's a lap. It's fantastic. It's always fun there. It's always fun. It's always entertaining. It's usually very tense there. We've had some great races in the past. 2019 was an absolute classic. The as Max runs into his pit crew there for more congratulations. What is that win number? 60, 61, I think, for Max Verstappen. Crazy numbers. Absolutely insane. So, end of the day, we've all of us gotten through, maybe, unless you fell asleep, we've all of us gotten through another Spanish Grand Prix. Only one more of them at the Circuit de Catalunya to go. So, a bit of a handshake. Lando looks a little bit disheartened there. I think Lewis probably looks like he can't be asked. I think Lewis really gives a shit unless it's for a win. Which, fair enough, he's got 103 of them. I think third place is nothing really that much to crow about. Yeah, Lando looks a little bit dejected there, to be honest. I think he knows that he could have won today, and he really could have won today, I think, if he'd nailed his start a bit better. Either way, what are we thinking today? 2.5 stars, I think, out of me. 5 out of 10. Yeah, it was a race. Of all the races, and as I said before, there's been 1,111 of them. Of all of the races, this was definitely a race. That's about it. It's going to be one of those races that in a couple of years' time, you'll probably struggle to remember what happened, but you probably think that Max Verstappen won it because it's 2024, and yes, he did. Championship, I don't even think it's worth mentioning. It's over. I think it was over before the season even started. DC doing the post-race interviews. Good for you, you Easter Island jaw motherfucker. So, yeah, that's it. I think we've run through everybody. Good day for Alpine. Bad day. A missed opportunity day for McLaren. They could have had the win. Could they? They could have had a better shot at the win, I think, if Norris had nailed a start. They had a better shot at the win. I don't know if they would have gotten it, but they definitely had a better shot if Norris can figure that out. Shit for Piastri. Not great. Not great today. I'll have to look at what happened with Oscar later, but he never really figured into it. Ferrari's pretty poor, to be honest. Mercedes promising for the rest of the season. I think Mercedes and Ferrari are probably going to switch back and forth in that sort of just off the top two kind of pace. But who knows? Maybe they could even feature for a win sooner or later. In fact, Silverstone's coming up soon. Hamilton's always good there. Russell, I think, will be really feeling it there. And Sainz won there a couple of years ago, so you never know what could happen at Silverstone. Checo 8th. Just, I mean, Red Bull at least don't need two drivers to win a race, and they don't need two drivers to win a drivers' championship because they've already got the, I think, best in the business right now doing it. In fact, you look at Zach Brown right there, and he's even thinking, I wonder what it would take to get Max in one of my cars. God, I tell you what, that would be a blockbuster move if McLaren could swoop for Max Verstappen for 2026, maybe send Lando the other way or something. Not that I think they'd want to. Maybe send Oscar the other way. Not that I think Red Bull would want it. Whatever. Either way, Checo 8th, not great. Gasly 9th, no content. Good for Alpine. Everybody else, no points. Suck shit, try harder. That's basically it. No retirements to speak of, no real controversy to speak of. It's just another race. And that was just another stream. And even though it was just another stream, thank you very much for joining it. Thank you very much for coming down by the end, huh? Yeah, it's been great actually. I remember struggling to think of what the next race was in Montreal. I forgot this race existed, but next week really is Austria, and it will be fun. I think Max will win that one too, but there'll be a whole... The Dutch army will be out. It's going to be flares. It's going to be Kino as shit. It's going to look good. The racing should be great. It's always fun. It's a track that really promotes good, fast, close racing and entertaining racing. So we'll see what Austria holds in a week's time, and I'll be here on YouTube talking about it as it goes along. There we go. Again, thank you very, very much for joining me. I hope you had some sort of fun. I hope you had 2.5 stars worth of fun in that race. And yeah, we got through Spain. Fantastic. Max Verstappen wins. Fantastic. On to the next one. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next week if you'd be kind enough to join me. Thank you so far. Cheerio. Ta-ta for now. See you again.